Coming up on KEZI 9 News this morning, hundreds of customers evacuated from a Eugene restaurant after shots were fired during the Super Bowl game. I'll have the details coming up.
And the Bundys and their accomplices back in the spotlight. This time they take on the Nevada court system with the first trial for the Bunkerville standoff. More on the charges they face.
And immigrant families finally get a chance to be in the United States since the president ordered a travel ban to 7 countries. What they went through to get to this country as KEZI 9 News this morning starts now.
Live, local, late breaking. This is KEZI 9 News this morning.
And good morning. It is 5:31 on Monday, February 6th. I'm Jennifer Richardson.
And I'm Bob Schaefer. Your top stories are coming up in a second. First, we're going to bring in Storm Tracker 9 meteorologist Dave Holder, who has a look at your weather and traffic every 9 minutes. Dave, you've dialed up some pretty, I would call it mild weather this morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. We are looking at fairly mild temperatures across the board. However, there is a front moving in. There is colder air lurking out there, and we're looking at Corvallis right now. You don't have to go far from Corvallis, just to the west there, up towards the Coast Range, to find some snow. So we are seeing some that wintry precip out there right now, and the temperatures actually have fallen to 37 degrees. We have a south wind at 9 miles per hour. Those skies are actually clearing a little bit through the Willamette Valley here, and that might allow that temperature to drop just a little bit more. There is that winter weather advisory until 6 o'clock this afternoon. Looking at some snow falling right now out towards Corvallis. I'd like to hear a report from the Philomath or Alsea area if you guys are seeing some snow out there. Could see 3 to 6 inches above 1,000 feet. There it is on Storm Tracker 9 satellite radar, that white there showing up in Benton County. Looking at a little break in the action right now for most of the rest of us. No fog to deal with this morning. Your day-to-day, we'll see some heavier rain at times the next few hours, but then more showers and possibly some sun breaks. Highs getting up into the low 40s. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Dave. Now to our top story. A man is in custody this morning after allegedly firing a shot inside of a Eugene restaurant.
Police say the suspect pulled out a gun after becoming annoyed with another customer while watching the Super Bowl. KEZI 9 News reporter Rosie Nguyen joins us live from BJ's restaurant with details on what happened. Rosie?
Yeah, Bob and Jen, it's not the way customers wanted to end their Super Bowl night inside of a BJ's at Valley River Center. Luckily, there was an off-duty Eugene police officer who intervened and possibly prevented a fatality from happening. Eugene police say 63-year-old Donald Bolden of Florence was watching the Super Bowl Sunday night at BJ's around 6:30 when he became irritated with another customer. That's when he pulled out a semi-automatic gun and started firing. Officials say he fired 1 round, missing the victim, a server, and multiple other patrons. An off-duty Eugene police sergeant was inside and heard the shot. The restaurant was evacuated while the officer kept the shooter contained until EPD arrived. Bolden was booked into Lane County Adult Corrections on charges of assault, 6 counts of reckless endangering, unlawful use of a weapon, and disorderly conduct. Now, at the time of the shooting, there was approximately 250 customers who were inside of the restaurant. Luckily, there were no serious injuries, but there was a server who did experience some hearing loss from being close to the gunfire. Live in Eugene, Rosie Nguyen, KEZI 9 News.
Thank you for that report, Rosie. And also a scary encounter for one victim after being attacked with an axe.
Yeah, this Eugene police say 57-year-old Gordon Longmore hit a man with the axe in the 1000 block of Oak Patch Road around 8 o'clock last night. Officers say the victim suffered some serious neck and back injuries, but is expected to survive. They say Longmore knew his victim. 2 adults killed and a state trooper injured following a 3-car crash on Highway 101.
It happened about 1:30 yesterday, just south of Coos Bay near Millington. Oregon State Police say the driver of a Mitsubishi traveling southbound on the highway lost control, crossed into the northbound lanes and hit an OSB pickup truck head-on. According to police, a 3rd car attempting to avoid the crash hit the truck and Mitsubishi. 2 18-year-old men in that Mitsubishi died at the scene. A 16-year-old was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Authorities say the trooper was also taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
In Forest Grove, a woman is dead this morning following a car crash. Troopers say this all happened on Highway 47 just south of Banks around 2 yesterday. Troopers say a Chrysler van driven by 28-year-old Nichelle Akers was going south when it crossed the center line and hit a Ford truck in the northbound lane. Akers was pronounced dead on the scene. The 5 people in the truck, including 3 kids, were taken to the hospital with minor injuries. To Springfield now, where a church was vandalized over the weekend and window and 2 glass doors were shattered.
The student minister at Eastside Baptist says they discovered the shattered glass early Saturday morning. He says they have two goals moving forward. One is to replace the glass soon. The other is to forgive.
If they want to come to a great church, the doors are always open. Hopefully they can just open the door rather than break them. Of course, that would be preferable, but
Bernard says nothing appears to have been taken and there's no further damage inside the building.
And more vandalism, this time Nazi graffiti in the Whitaker. Employees at Old Nick's Bar on Washington say the building was tagged early Saturday with swastikas and other messages. One said, quote, "We're watching you." Old Nick's Bar employees painted over the symbols and say they did file a police report, hope the people responsible are found.
For a myriad of reasons, we are one of the non-hate zone type places, and if you're basically selling that, we don't want you here.
Other businesses also vandalized included Jerry and Walt's Complete Auto Care.
Continuing coverage this morning, the first trial in the so-called Bunkerville standoff kicks off today in Las Vegas. 6 people are facing federal charges for their alleged roles in an armed confrontation with officials in Nevada. Cliven Bundy and his sons, Ammon and Ryan, will go to court in a second trial later this month. Both trials stem from an armed standoff at Cliven Bundy's ranch, where federal agents attempted to confiscate his cattle in 2014.
Now to an update on a Washington state officer who was shot on duty. On December 15th, Officer Mike McClaughley responded to a shooting in Mount Vernon when he was struck in the head. Doctors say he is making remarkable recovery and is walking, talking, doing hours of physical therapy each week and likely to be released from the hospital later this month. Unfortunately, he doesn't remember the shooting that left him blind, and he doesn't remember his grandchildren. The man accused of shooting McClaughley, this guy, 44-year-old Ernesto Rivas, has pled not guilty to attempted murder. Coming up next on KZI 9 News this morning, the Super Bowl causing phone problems throughout the country. They get a little confused.
We'll tell you about the Google commercial that turned on millions of phones just by saying 2 words. Well, that's up next. First, though, here's Storm Tracker 9 meteorologist Dave Holder with a look at your weather and traffic every 9 minutes.
Also, record rainfall across the area yesterday. That's led to a lot of high water out along the coast. Seeing quite a few examples of high water causing some slowdowns, particularly right now along 101. That includes you out there in Reedsport. You can see it is wet. We're going to be talking about those records and when we'll see some more precipitation. It's not that far around the corner. That's up next.
Coming up on KZI 9 News this morning, a woman enraged drives through this store. We'll have more coming up.
And new information this morning on a shooting that killed 9 people. Plus, local motorcyclists remember a young boy killed in a freak accident. KZI 9 News this morning starts now.
Live, local, late breaking. This is KZI 9 News. Breaking news. A
woman drives through a Springfield Safeway store after a fight with employees over gift cards. Thank you for joining me. I'm Bob Shaper. KZI 9 News reporter Angelica Leilani is live at the scene with all the details. Angelica, what can you tell us?
Yes, Bob, that woman drove through these doors, made a loop inside, and then smashed out the other side. Police say 43-year-old Noella Faye got into an argument with employees around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon over wanting to purchase $2,200 worth of gift cards. Officers say Faye's check did not clear, and that's when she became angry. They say Faye left the store but returned just after midnight. Police say she drove up to the west side of the doors and started yelling at employees about the gift cards. Now, the employees say that she needed to move her car, and that's when Faye drove through the store. Officers say Faye drove through down the aisles, back to the back of the store, and then made a loop and reversed the course up to the front. Now, that's when she drove behind the registers towards the deli section, and that's when she drove through the east doors on the other side. Now, police say there were 4 employees in the store at the time and 2 customers, but no one was hurt. Now, one employee I spoke with said that he thought he was going to die and ran for his life. Now, Bob, there's no word on whether or not this store is going to be open later or not today, but we'll have more as more information comes in. Live in Springfield, Angelica Leilani, KEZI 9 News.
What a mess. Thank you, Angelica. Now, this is what Faye looks like. She was actually found at her home in Glenwood and arrested for reckless endangerment ×6 and hit and run. Now we take it over to Storm Tracker 9 meteorologist Dave Holder, who has a look at your weather and traffic every 9 minutes. Hi, Dave.
Good morning, Bob. We are looking at heat advisories now being issued by the National Weather Service, and these will go into effect 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon until 8 o'clock on Friday evening. And you can see the entire area shaded in peach there will be under those heat advisories. Pretty much all of Lane County except the very extreme coastline there, and then Lynn County as well. We're going to see some pretty hot weather here coming up the next couple of days. Starting off your day, however, on a mild start, almost on a chilly start right now, 52 degrees in Eugene. Might not be a bad idea to wear a light jacket stepping outside for your morning commute. Clear skies here in Eugene to start your day. We're seeing clear skies across most of the area. The one exception is right along the coastline there, where we are seeing a little bit of that low cloud cover and the fog again this morning. We're going to continue to watch that. Your visibility down to 0.3 of a mile there in Coos County. Be careful out on the roads, please. Your day-to-day getting up to 77 degrees by noon. We'll see hot temperatures by the afternoon. We're climbing to 92, but it just keeps getting warmer. I'll show you just how hot we get coming up in a few minutes. Bob?
Thanks, Dave. New information this morning in the Charleston church shooting case. Court documents show the accused shooter wrote 2 manifestos detailing his reasons for the attack. 22-year-old Dylan Roof is charged with killing 9 black churchgoers in South Carolina last year. Authorities say they have handwritten notes showing Roof specifically targeted churchgoers who attended Bible study to magnify the impact of the murders. They also say he self-radicalized in the months before the shooting, with his white supremacy beliefs growing stronger. Roof's death penalty trial begins in November. A new report shows the TSA confiscated a record-breaking number of guns from airports around the country last week. Agents found 81 guns from people trying to board planes. 70 of them were loaded, and 31 actually had a round in the chamber. Officials said they also confiscated swords, throwing knives, and even a machete. An attorney is suing over a proposal to put a homeless shelter inside a warehouse at the Port of Portland. The Bureau of Environmental Services owns that building. The attorney argues if the city puts a homeless shelter in there, the Bureau won't be able to sell the land and won't be able to get as much money to lease it either. He claims that would require the Bureau to take on more debt and maybe even raise water and sewer rates. Well, did you remember to cash your Oregon tax refund check? More than 5,000 taxpayers are sitting on expired refund checks because they didn't, leaving almost $1 million on the table. You should have gotten a letter from the state in July if you have an expired check. And if you don't get it reissued by October, you're going to have to go through a long process to get that refund. Police say a former daycare worker is facing charges this morning after she was found in bed with a teenage boy. 27-year-old Jessica Bennett is charged with contributing to the sexual delinquency of a minor after the victim's father says he found her in bed with his 16-year-old son. The Lane County Sheriff's Office says it happened at a home in the 2000 block of Bennett Creek Road, that's near Cottage Grove. According to court papers, the boy's father says he saw Bennett undressed in his son's bedroom. Papers also show Bennett told a deputy she and the victim had sex. She says it was the first time and it was a bad decision. Before she was cited, Bennett was working at Kid Zone in Eugene. That's a state-certified child care center for 2 to 12-year-olds. Paula Sheridan, the director at Kid Zone, says, quote, after confirming her involvement, we relieved her and she was placed on administrative leave pending the completion of the investigation. We are shocked as Miss Jessica is an outstanding staff member and educator. She has established great relationships with our families. Bennett will be back in court at the end of September. A woman is facing charges this morning accused of kicking and spitting on a Eugene police officer, and police say it all started with an open beer. Police say this woman, 22-year-old Sabrina Gorneris, was drinking alcohol in the Willamette Valley alley, that is, but she took off running when an officer approached her. They say the officer met her on the other side of the alley and called for backup. Police say when the officer got there, he found her drinking again with small groups of people. When the officer walked over and took the beer from Gorneris, he says the group became hostile. He says Gorneris took the beer back as he was filling out the ticket. Police say she then kicked an officer. Other officers showed up to help with crowd control and to arrest her.
As the officer was interacting with her, her behavior continued to escalate. A group formed around the officer that was addressing her behavior and trying to effect the arrest.
Officials say as police arrested Gorneris, she banged her head on the patrol car and she spit on the officers. Gorneris was charged with possession of an alcoholic beverage, tampering with physical evidence, interfering with police, and resisting arrest. A Roseburg woman is grieving this morning after a mosquito-borne virus has wiped out her pet rabbits. Myxomatosis was introduced in Australia in 1950 to control the population of wild rabbits and since spread to the U.S. Pacific coast. It causes swelling in the face, hemorrhaging, and seizures, and usually kills the rabbits within 10 days. A Roseburg woman says 3 months ago her rabbits became infected, all but one died. She raises the rabbits for their fur, which she uses to create blankets, hats, and scarves.
He was like the mud of the litter. But you know what? If he survives, he will not only have a good immunity to myxomatosis, but it's looking like an animal that survives it will also carry that in their genes.
Now, if you have rabbits and they're showing signs of the virus, take them to your vet immediately. Now we have a follow-up. The road to recovery begins for that little girl injured by a fallen tree at Fall Creek that resulted in the death of her 9-year-old cousin. 5-year-old Chloe Phillips is suffering from 3 fractured vertebrae, some broken bones in her foot, and a broken ankle. Phillips' cousin, Braden Zeisler, died on the scene. And now bikers from the Oregon Riders Society are organizing a ride in memory of Braden while raising money to help cover Chloe's medical costs.
When they explained all the small details of what happened to these children, I, as a big, burly biker man, sobbed like a baby. And they need help, and that's what else is there to do?
The ride is set for September 4th, but there are no details yet about where it'll be held. For more updates on the ride and Chloe's condition, just visit our website at kzi.com. What a great effort those guys are putting on. I hope they get a lot of participation and raise a lot of money. All right, coming up on KZI 9 News, a state of emergency in Washington as wildfires threaten homes all over the state. More on that, but first here's Storm Checker 9 meteorologist Dave Holder with a look at your weather and traffic every 9 minutes.
And watching the roads down in Roseburg right now, no problems to report at the moment. Not seeing any fog down here in the Umpqua Basin. We are tracking a little bit of fog out along the coast. We'll continue to watch that and tell you just how hot we'll get the next couple days. Get ready. That's coming up next.